So I have with me one of my lovely previous clients, Katherine, with me, and I'm super excited. Thank you for being here today to go through some questions with me about your experience working together.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so.
So why don't we start with how did you find me and what prompted you to reach out for support?
I was listening to a podcast, and you were a guest speaker on this podcast. And you were talking a lot about self-sabotage with food and brain fog and, your digestive system and your cortisol and stress. And I'm like, okay, she's speaking to me. I mean, all of those things I was going through, and I just could not figure out how to help myself no matter what I tried. I tried dieting, I tried, therapy, I tried lots of things, but nothing seemed to work. I couldn't find anybody, but you just had a way of speaking to me that I was like, I have to reach out for a consultation to see if this is what I need.
Mhm. And what drew you to then move forward?
After speaking to you, you just spoke to me in a way, and I think what you gave me hope. I guess that's what it was, that if, like anything else, like riding a bike, I mean, you have to practice. This is a practice, and you have to make the time for it. And I think too, I remember what stuck with me is you don't have to feel guilty about what you're going through, because it's a learned behavior. And we really started to go back into doing some techniques that you and I worked on. And it really became clear that it wasn't my fault, and that I could forgive myself, and that I could, if I with practice, and I really was at rock bottom, I wanted to change, that I could do it. And you just gave me that hope and that clarity and the tools that I was necessary for that. And so I felt, yes, let's do it.
So we started working together when a couple of the first things we started working on, we did hormone testing and we started working on identifying your emotional eating triggers so that you could start gaining traction with that. How was that support pivotal in helping you to really be able to identify your triggers and start stopping them and preventing them?
It was so critical, because I didn't know, to really identify them. I had an idea, um, but I think having the steps, and there's definitely a sequence of steps of really, the first thing is awareness, truly becoming aware of it. And I we began to lay out the ones that I really needed to conquer. So I began to prioritize those. And I'll tell you, it's still a journey. I still have to work at it. But you were so right. Like, if you keep at it, Catherine, it will get easier. And it has gotten easier. And I feel so much more powerful and so much more energetic. I don't have the brain fog. I sleep better. But I'm not saying like every day this happens, but I'd say many days it happens, where before there was just a few where I really felt good and energetic and in my power. But I felt like you gave me my power back to conquer it by giving me specific techniques of how to identify the trigger, what to do, mind shift. There's a lot of things that I never knew about. I honestly did not know.
How did how did it feel when we started talking about the ego and how was that beneficial in helping you continue to take your power back, heal your relationship with food, etc.?
The ego, again, was a new term for me, and again, I'm surprised because now I hear it more often. I have a daughter that's 25, and she talks about the ego and things. I'm like, how do you know all this stuff? But anyway, I I it was a new concept, but then it really made sense to me, because there is something in your mind that tells you this is the person that you really are. Why are you trying to do this to yourself? This is so much easier. Just, this is not a big deal. It's a celebration. Why not let yourself go? Well, it's always a celebration. Let's face it. You're always going out and doing things. So I really had to stop listening to that person in my head saying it's okay, um, and really take my own power back to say, no, this is not what you want. This is not serving you. This is not making you happy. and again, there was tools that you gave me that helped me to really identify that. And it became more of a mantra. Like every day I was like, this isn't serving me. This is not who I want to be. I'm not bringing the energy that I want to. I'm not showing up with other people the way I want to.
Yeah, yeah, the ego piece is so big. And you know, as we got deeper into the journey, we're dealing with the relationship of food. You're learning about the ego. And one thing we kept coming back to was self-care. You making time for self-care. And there was a resistance. There was like, right. But that we had to keep coming back to it because then you got the value of the self-care. Why do you think it was so important for us to keep coming back to that? And what have been the benefits of you being able to build a consistent self-care routine to support yourself?
Yeah, and I'm so glad, Amber, having you as a coach and having those regular touch points, because you kept stressing how important it is. And I think we always use busy as an excuse. And you kept saying, just 5 minutes, just give me 5 minutes. And I would give you the 5 minutes. I would do my homework basically. And then I would give a little bit more and a little bit more. And then I'm realizing, I'm like, wow, I need this just like I need eat, sleep. I need this to really function and to show up for my kids, to show up for my friends, my family. Um, Now I understand it, and it really is about, quieting the mind and grounding yourself and being present. And there's things that you shared with me of, how to start every day. And I do start every day. It's almost like a religion to me of how I start my day now, where I was just before jumping into my day, jumping into my work, eating at my desk. I wasn't living the life that I really wanted to live. And yes, we are busy. Everybody's busy. But when you figure out how important this is, you'll realize that you can fit it in and that you will show up even stronger for your partner and for the people that love you.
Yeah, there's a massive level of mindfulness that we start to integrate when we bring in these sacred routines and actually bring in a sacred ritual, whether it's morning, evening, midday, to like help us lead our day in power and grounding. So I'm glad that that really stuck for you and that you really noticed the big impact on that. And as we're going along unexpectedly, which is usually what the case is, we started to talk more about energy and your intuition and spirituality. And this whole leg of the journey just showed up, right? Without any pushing. So why don't you share a bit about that experience and how it felt for you to step more into that part of who you are?
Yeah, Amber, I never expected that. I've never been a very religious person. I wouldn't even know. I couldn't even define when people would say, are you spiritual? I wouldn't know that. It was only like I grew up with, you're either this kind of religion or this
Mhm.
religion. So is, spirituality and being a spiritual person, I didn't know what that meant, but that was like kind of like the icing on the cake, I guess, with you, because I didn't know. I was open enough and I wanted to learn more, that you were willing to take me on that journey of sharing other ways of thinking about the universe and manifestation. And then I start to listen to podcasts on it, and there's just so much information. There's so many books, podcasts. Um, and you were like, Katherine, you're just skimming the surface. Like there is so much there. And I realize that now. And, I've come to accept people more. I've come to not judge people as much. There are people that maybe don't think like me, and it's not, their energy may be different than me. And I know how to still deal with them, but in a very positive way for me. Because, right, like you said, I'm the one that has to go to sleep every night with my mind, my body, my soul, nobody else. It's me. And I thought a lot about that and how I need to take care of me first and foremost. And nobody can break that barrier. And if they try to, I have to set boundaries, and again, in a very positive way. But there are boundaries with certain people that I do have to set. So I think that you talk to me, you just helped me a lot to understand about spirituality, the universe, manifestation, boundaries, things that I just never really thought about. And it truly has changed my life.
Yes, amazing. And it's just so beautiful when these unexpected parts of the journey unfold. So we integrated a lot of different tools and techniques for you to use on the journey to help you with your healing. What were your favorite ones and why do you love them so much?
Well, I do love journaling. I think journaling for me is just very calming. I can get a lot of things out on paper, and you gave us so many different ways. And I say us because there was a small group of women. We used to have some joint sessions. And I have like a really nice chair that looks out into nature. I keep my journal book right there. So it's part of the habit. I walk right by it with my coffee. So it's ready to go. And whatever I'm feeling, how I want to set the intentions for my day, what I'm grateful for, sending love to people, things that I'm just really, passionate about. Whatever it is, it's so nice to put it on paper. And if some things are bothering me, sometimes it's just good to get it out on paper. And I realize as I'm journaling, I'm like, boy, this is taking up a lot of space and I shouldn't be thinking this much. I'm overthinking about this. I'm gonna let the universe, I'm gonna give it to the universe. I'm gonna let this go and I'm gonna focus on things that are more positive. And so journaling for me has really helped a lot. And I do a lot of journaling. Meditation, definitely. Meditation just really frees my mind up, gives me more space, lets it settle, breathing techniques you shared, and then tapping as well, which was something that was new to me. But just tapping is some of the tools that I think I use the most. And I know when I talked to you, I thought like working out was a tool. I was like, well, I work out. And you were like, well, that's not really self-care. I'm like, yeah, I thought working out was self-care. Isn't going to the gym self-care? And you're like, no. And I see the women in my gym and men and they just seem to be like rushing in, running, doing their thing and rushing out. And like now the experience is so different for me. Like I go in, I talk to people, I go to the sauna when I'm done. That's like my reward where I meditate. I leave. It's not like I have to work out. It's just like I enjoy the movement, the experience, the people. It's again much more mindful, much more intentional, and I get so much more out of it. And I'm trying new things I never thought I would do before, classes that I never thought I'd do before. So it's just been a joyful experience.
Yeah, I love that. It is. And things become more mindful when we choose to slow down. So I'm so glad that that's the experience you're having. How has this journey and this work impacted your quality of life?
It's impacted tremendously. I never thought that I could have this much peace in my life, to be quite honest with you. And I think that I've influenced people without saying a word. It's just my frequency, it's my actions. I have other women now that want to start meditating, that want to learn more about journaling. My daughter she's 25 and she handles things in such a more positive way. And I realize the influence and impact I have on her. You always impact your kids but it's such a positive way that I'm impacting her. And it just, to me, that's worth everything. That's worth your services, your time. I can't thank you enough because I think out of if the one thing I could walk away from is I was able to help my daughter so that she wouldn't go through the things that I went through. And I know what to say to her if she wants help. I know what to recommend to her. And she's taking it all in. And she always says to me, Mom, she goes, well, none of my friends have a mom like you. Like you really, you really know how to take things and make them more positive and take care of yourself and slow down and really enjoy and be present. And to me, that is the most wonderful compliment to influence your kids that way.
Yeah, that's profound. It really has a ripple effect. And I think we don't realize how powerful we are. And as we heal, that ripple effect, we don't even have to say or do anything. Like you said, it's the actions, it's the way you show up, the way you treat yourself. That is noticeable. And that is what impacts everyone else around us. So I'm so glad that that's the shift that has happened for you. Is there anything else you want to share? Why would you recommend this support for? Who would you recommend it for?
I would definitely recommend the support for somebody that is struggling with, maybe self-sabotage, not feeling like they're good enough, feeling just so busy that they just don't have the time for themselves, or they just don't know the tools. If you're feeling guilty about maybe overeating, it is really not your fault. And I think Amber just has such a way of working with you and finding out what you need, because not every tool is going to work for every person. But I felt like you really kind of tailored this to what I needed at the right time during our sessions together. Because I think right up front, I might not have been so open to some of the things, but through the journey, you could see that I was, and you could see it. You could see the expression on my face. I was much more peaceful, and I was taking in more and more. And you stuck with me. And I think that that's one thing, is you really don't seem to give up when you know somebody is really wanting to change and is willing to do the work, which is, I really want to thank you for that.
Honestly, my pleasure, truly. Thank you so much for sharing everything. Is there anything else that you want to share?
I think that's it. I just would say, if you're having those struggles, call Amber. I really would.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
No problem. Anytime, Amber.